The ship wasn't empty. He heard breathing inside. The scrapyard was silent except for the soft hum of broken machines and the crunch of metal under boots. Rane, a human mechanic, walked slowly through the twisted wreckage. He was sent here to repair an old alien cargo ship, model class Vortex 13. It hadn't flown in years. The job was simple: check the systems, repair the core, report back. He sighed and looked up at the dark, massive ship sitting in the middle of the yard. Rusty panels, burned-out thrusters, cracked windows. It looked like it had seen war. They really want this thing flying again? He muttered to himself. Rainey pulled out his scanner and approached the main door. It was slightly open. That was strange. He checked the logs. No one's entered in the last 6 months, the scanner said. So why was it open? He stepped inside slowly, light flickering from his chest lamp. The air was stale. Dust floated in the beam like little stars. Then he stopped. He heard it. Breathing. It was soft, shaky, faint, but it was there. He froze. "Hello?" he called out. No answer. He took another step forward. The ship's floor creaked beneath his boots. His heart beat louder with each step. His hand reached for the small tool knife on his belt. Not much for a fight, but better than nothing. A soft clang came from behind a storage panel on the left. Someone, or something, was in there. He walked toward the panel. The breathing got louder. He slowly reached out and pressed the unlock button. The panel hissed and slid open, and there she was, crouched inside, curled up and shaking. A girl, not human. Alien. Her skin was pale blue, her hair long and tangled. Glowing lines ran down her arms, bioluminescent veins, common in some outer colony species. Her clothes were torn, dirty. She had no shoes. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. But it was her eyes that stopped him. Bright, big, full of fear. She stared at him without blinking. "Please," she whispered. "Don't tell them I'm here." Rane blinked, stunned. You're not supposed to be here." She didn't answer. She just pulled her arms tighter around her knees. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, voice softer now. "I'm a mechanic. I came to fix the ship." Her lips trembled. "This ship saved me. I hid here. Please." She looked ready to cry. Ronnie stepped back. His mind raced. An escaped alien? Hidden in an abandoned ship? Why didn't the scans pick her up? He looked at the panel again. It was lined with metal, lead shielding. That would block scanners. Smart. Someone had helped her hide, or maybe she did it herself. Ronnie walked away from the panel and sat on an old crate nearby. "You hungry?" he asked. She hesitated, then gave a small nod. He pulled out an emergency bar from his bag and placed it on the floor halfway between them. She crawled out slowly, her limbs weak and shaking. She picked it up and sniffed it carefully before biting. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she chewed. "I'm Rane," he said quietly. She didn't reply, just kept eating. After a minute, she whispered, "Valea." Her voice was soft, musical, and full of pain. "Valea," he repeated. "You were hiding here. From who?" She paused. Her eyes filled with fear again. "Bad people," she said. "They own me." Rane frowned. "You're a slave?" She nodded slowly. "I escaped," she added. "But they will come. They always come." Rane looked at her, really looked. She wasn't just scared. She was broken, hungry, cold, alone. This wasn't part of the job. But something deep in his chest told him he couldn't walk away. "You can stay," he said. "At least for now. Let me fix the ship. I'll keep the door locked." Her eyes softened. She looked at him like he was something she'd never seen before. A kind face, a safe place. Then she stood up slowly. Her balance was off, her legs shaky. Ronnie stepped forward to help, But she raised a hand, and then she began to remove the top layer of her clothing. Ryan's eyes widened. "Hey, wait, what are you doing?" She tilted her head. "You fed me, you protected me, this is how we show we trust, I offer myself." He turned away, flustered. "That's not how humans work." She seemed confused. "But this is how my people say, thank you." Ronnie grabbed his jacket and handed it to her without turning around. "Just put this on." There was silence. Then soft laughter. Not mocking, just warm. She put on the jacket. "It's warm," she whispered. "So are humans," Ronnie replied. But inside, he knew. This was only the beginning. The ship creaked as it settled under its own weight. The old metal groaned like it didn't want to hold any more secrets. Ronnie sat near the wall, elbows on his knees, eyes fixed on the floor. Across from him, wrapped in his oversized jacket, was the alien woman, Valea. She had finished the food bar in slow bites like she hadn't tasted anything real in weeks, but she never stopped watching the door, always listening, always tense. "Valea," Ronnie said softly. "You can rest now. You're safe." Her eyes snapped to him, sharp and alert. "No one is ever safe, not from them." Ronnie leaned back, arms crossed. "Who are they?" She hesitated. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "My owners." The word hit him like a punch. "Owners?" She nodded. "They take girls like me. They say we are built for obedience, for pleasure, for profit." Rain felt sick. He rubbed his face. This wasn't what he signed up for. He was a mechanic, not a soldier, not a savior. Just a man who fixed things that were broken. But maybe that's exactly why fate brought him here. "I escaped," she continued. "This ship was marked for scrap. No one checked it, so I climbed inside before they could catch me." "How long have you been here?" 17 cycles, almost 3 human weeks. She looked down at her hands, thin, dirty, trembling. "I couldn't go outside. If I did, the tracker would activate." Ronnie's brow furrowed. "Tracker?" She gently pulled down the jacket's collar. Just below her neck, near her collarbone, was a small, dark lump under her skin. "It pulses. Every 6 hours, sends a signal," she said. "Soon, they'll find me." "Why didn't you remove it?" "I tried. It burns if you touch it." "And the pain?" She looked away. "It's meant to scare us." Ronnie stood up, paced once, then knelt in front of her. "Let me see it." She hesitated, then nodded. His fingers were careful, gentle. He pressed around the lump. It was hard, metal, not natural. He could feel it buzzing faintly under her skin. "I might be able to remove it," he said slowly. "But it's risky. I'd need my tools, and you'd need to be very, very still." Valea stared at him. Her face was unreadable. "Why? Would you help me?" she finally asked. Ronnie looked her in the eyes. "Because no one else did." For a moment she looked like she might cry again, but instead she laughed softly. "I thought humans were cruel." "We have our monsters too," he said. "But not all of us." She exhaled, long and tired. "Then I choose to trust the one who gave me food and his jacket." Ronnie gave a crooked smile. "Fair enough." She stood up slowly, stepping carefully across the floor. Her balance was still weak, but there was something in her movement now, strength returning. Then suddenly, without warning, she reached for the torn part of her clothing and began to undo it again. "Hey, again?" Ronnie turned around quickly. "You really don't have to do that." She paused, puzzled. "I thought, this is how your people accept a life debt?" He shook his head fast. "No, not even close. That's not how it works with humans. We don't take things like that. Especially not from someone who's scared." She tilted her head. "Then how do humans repay kindness?" "We don't. We just be kind in return." For a moment, Valea was quiet. Then, with gentle fingers, she closed the torn edges of her shirt again and sat back down. Then teach me, she said softly. How to be like your kind. He turned around. She had kept the jacket on. Her eyes weren't scared this time. They were curious, hopeful. Rainey nodded slowly. All right, but first, we get that tracker out of you. And then, he said, we get you free. For real this time. The old ship groaned again above them, but Ronnie didn't hear it anymore. All he saw was her, and the silent promise that he wouldn't let her fall back into the darkness. Ron stood at the far end of the ship's corridor, facing the wall. His hands were clenched at his sides, his heart beating a little too fast. Behind him, he could still hear the soft rustle of clothing, Valea adjusting what little she had left to wear under his oversized jacket. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, she said quietly, her voice echoing gently through the ship's hollow chamber. Rain sighed, still looking away. You didn't. I just wasn't expecting it. She took a few steps forward. Her bare feet patted softly across the dusty metal floor. I thought this was your way. I've seen humans in space stations, exchanging warmth for survival. I thought maybe you'd want that. He turned around finally, eyes serious. Wanting and taking are not the same thing. Valea stopped. No one's ever explained that to me before, she said. Among my kind, giving yourself is the last act of trust. The final proof of loyalty. It's not shameful, it's sacred. Ronnie felt his chest tighten. Valea, you don't owe me anything. I didn't help you because I wanted something. She lowered her eyes. Then why did you? He stepped forward slowly. Because you looked like someone who hadn't been given a choice in a long time. Silence stretched between them. And then she smiled. Small, unsure, but real. I want to learn, she said. Not just how to fix engines or fly ships. I want to learn what it means to be free. I want to learn how to be human. Ronnie chuckled gently. Trust me, we're not the best teachers. But you're the only one who stayed, she replied. He didn't know what to say to that. So instead, he walked past her and picked up his old tool case. Let's focus on the tracker first. Then we can talk about the rest. Valea nodded and climbed up onto the work table near the engine bay. Her hands gripped the edge tightly. Ronnie laid out what little he had. A portable scanner, a sterilizer, a laser scalpel, and an old medic patch. I'll numb the area, he explained. Then make a small cut. The chip is lodged near a nerve, so if I slip... She interrupted. Don't. He paused. Don't what? Don't tell me what. We'll go wrong, she said, calm but firm. Just do it, I've survived worse. Ronnie nodded, suddenly feeling like she was braver than he'd ever been. He cleaned the area, pressed the numbing patch, and waited for the skin to dull. Then, carefully, he made the incision. Valea didn't scream. Her jaw clenched, her hands tightened. But she didn't make a sound. It took less than 2 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. Ronnie pulled out the tiny black tracker, still blinking red, and dropped it into a sealed canister. Then he crushed it with a wrench. The blinking stopped. Valea's shoulders finally relaxed. It's gone, Ronnie said. They won't be able to track you anymore. But instead of smiling, Valea looked empty. They always find a way, she whispered, even without the chip. Ronnie sat beside her. Then we find a better way to run. She looked at him, eyes tired but lit with a small spark. You would really help me. Run? I'll do more than that, he said. I'll make sure no one ever owns you again. She leaned against the cold wall, breathing slowly. Where I come from, people like you are called myths, stories. They say humans are dangerous and selfish. Ronnie smiled. Most days they're not wrong, but you, she paused. You are something different. Ronnie didn't answer. He just handed her a clean cloth to wipe her forehead. For now, that was enough. But deep inside, something had shifted in both of them. She wasn't just a stranger anymore, and he wasn't just a mechanic. They were two people, both broken in some way, trying to fix something far more complicated than a ship, trying to fix each other. Valea didn't sleep. Even after the tracker was gone, even after Ronnie had sealed the wound with care, she lay awake on the cold table, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. Ronnie tried to rest in the corner of the ship's control room, but her voice woke him. "They're coming." He sat up quickly. "You're dreaming." "No," she said. "I feel them. They always come. When one goes missing, the others follow." Ronnie stood, rubbed his face, and looked around. The ship's outer sensors were damaged, but he still had access to the port's emergency scanner. He grabbed the pad and ran a quick sweep. Nothing. At first. Then a faint ping. A ship had just dropped out of warp, silent, unmarked, too far to be a normal patrol. Ronnie's stomach dropped. "You're right," Valea nodded. Her eyes weren't afraid anymore. They were focused, cold. "They'll search the scrapyard first, then the ships, they always do." Ronnie grabbed his tools, moving fast. "Then we don't have time to wait." "You can still run," she said, voice calm. "They'll take me and leave you alive. If they find you helped me, they'll skin you alive and sell your bones." Ronnie stopped mid-step. He turned to face her. "Do I look like the kind of man who runs?" She stared at him for a long moment, then slowly shook her head. "Then get up," he said, "and help me bring this ship back to life." For the next hour, they worked together. Valea knew the ship's layout better than he expected. She had explored it during her hiding days, memorized paths, vents, and broken wires. She moved like a shadow, quiet but sure. Ronnie focused on the engine core. It had enough power left for a short jump. Not far, but maybe far enough. "They'll detect the jump signature," Valea warned. "I'll cloak it as a pulse discharge. If I do it right, they'll think it's just an energy leak from the scrapyard's junk." She raised an eyebrow. "You're smarter than you look." He grinned. "I hear that a lot." She smiled. Just a little. But then, a sound. Metal footsteps. Outside. Heavy. Sharp. Ronnie killed the lights. They froze. The sound grew louder. Boots crunching broken parts. Voices, muffled, in a foreign tongue, one of them deep, commanding. Valea's hands trembled. "That one, the leader, he used to—" She stopped. Rain didn't ask. He grabbed a pipe from the ground, motioned her back into the engine compartment, and locked the door gently behind her. Then he walked toward the entrance. The main door slid open with a hiss. 3 figures stepped inside, all tall, all armored. Their skin was pale silver, their eyes flat and black like glass. Tattoos ran down their necks, symbols of ownership, power, control. The leader stepped forward and sniffed the air. "She was here," he said, his voice like metal scraping metal. "Recently." Rainey pretended to look confused. "You guys from port security?" They ignored him. "She bled here," the leader growled, pointing toward the table. "The wound is fresh." One of the soldiers raised a scanner. It blinked twice, then went dead. EMP surge. Someone destroyed the tracker. The leader turned to Rane. "Where is she?" Rane shrugged. "I fix ships, not people." The alien stepped closer. "Lie, and I'll wear your skin." Rane met his eyes, steady. "I've seen scarier things than you. You're just louder." The alien struck him across the face, fast and brutal. Ron hit the wall hard, blood spilling from his lip. The second soldier stepped forward, lifting a weapon, but before anything else could happen, the ship's engines rumbled to life. The leader turned sharply. "She's trying to run." "No." Rain coughed. "I am." He pressed a hidden button on his wrist. The floor shook. The ship's side thrusters ignited, blinding the alien soldiers. From the engine compartment, Valea burst out, her face fierce, eyes blazing. She held a live wire and threw it toward the nearest panel. Sparks exploded, the lights went out. When the smoke cleared, the aliens were gone, knocked out or escaped. Rane and Valea stood in the engine room, panting. You didn't stay hidden. Ronnie said. You didn't run, she replied. They both smiled through the smoke. Outside, alarms rang. The port was in chaos. Rain looked at the control screen. We've got one shot. To where? Anywhere that isn't here. She stepped closer, placed her hand on the console beside his. Then take me, she whispered. Anywhere humans are still kind. The air inside the ship was thick with smoke. Alarms blinked red across the panels. Some wires dangled from the ceiling, sparking dangerously. The engines were awake, but barely. Ronnie wiped the blood from his mouth and leaned over the control panel, typing fast. We've got 5 minutes before the core overheats, he muttered. Behind him, Valea stood barefoot on the metal floor, still holding the burned wire she had used to shock the soldiers. Her fingers were blackened from the blast. She didn't care. I can fly this ship, she said quickly. If you patch the stabilizers, I'll take the helm. No, Ronnie replied, eyes fixed on the screen. The stabilizers are inside the maintenance shaft. It's tight and full of exposed lines, you'd never make it through. She opened her mouth to argue, but he stopped her with a look. I'll go, he said. You keep the ship steady. But, no, you got burned already. Let me take the damage this time. She stared at him, her lips parted, breathing hard. Then she nodded. Ronnie grabbed a toolkit, pulled off his jacket, and climbed into the narrow crawl shaft beside the engine room. The metal was hot. Too hot. It bit into his arms. Sparks danced around his shoulders like angry bees. His hands worked fast. Unscrew, cut, strip, rewire. But the pipe beneath him hissed suddenly. Hot steam burst out and burned his side. He clenched his jaw and didn't scream. His skin sizzled, but he kept going. Inside the cockpit, Valea heard nothing but the growing hum of the core. It was rising, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ship was shaking. She looked back at the narrow opening where Rain had crawled in. Come on, she whispered. Come back. Inside the shaft, Ronnie finally tightened the last bolt. The stabilizers clicked green. He grinned through clenched teeth. Then the pipe below him gave way. The shaft cracked. He slipped and fell, hard. His head struck the edge of the wall. Darkness filled his vision. Ronnie! Valea's scream echoed through the ship. She ran to the shaft and crawled in without thinking. Her body was smaller, lighter. She moved faster. She found him halfway through, unconscious, bleeding from his forehead. Stupid. Brave human, she whispered, dragging him out inch by inch. Every movement hurt her burned hands, but she didn't stop. When she pulled him out, she lay him down gently and slapped his cheek. Wake up, she said. No response. Ronnie, please, she said, voice cracking. I don't know how to do this without you. He coughed weakly. Then don't, he rasped. Do it with me. She smiled, eyes wet. You're insane. Just enough to survive. With Ronnie barely standing, they reached the cockpit. You good to fly? He asked. She nodded. Sit. I'll handle this. She gripped the controls, wings glowing around her skin. Her people were known for navigation. They felt space like a second skin. The ship rose from the ground, shaky but steady. Behind them, outside the scrapyard, the alien hunters returned. 4 more ships dropping from the sky, engines humming with death. They've seen us, Ronnie said. I don't care, Valea whispered. The screen blinked. Hostiles locked on. Valea closed her eyes and jumped. The ship vanished in a silent flash, leaving behind nothing but sparks and smoke. The alien ship scanned the air, confused. They were gone, gone beyond their reach. In the silence of space, floating between stars, the ship stabilized. Valea breathed deeply. Ronnie, still bleeding, looked out at the stars. We're free, he whispered. For now, she said. He chuckled. Good enough for me. She looked over at him. You burned yourself. For me. I'd do it again, he said. She gently touched his hand. Then I'll never leave your side. Ronnie looked at her, and for the first time, she wasn't just someone he saved. She was someone who had saved him, too. The stars outside were beautiful, but behind the beauty was danger. The ship shook again. Ronnie braced himself against the wall. That last jump fried the rear thrusters. We can't outrun them again if they catch up. Valea gripped the control wheel. Her arms were trembling, not from fear, but from pure exhaustion. We don't need to outrun them, she said. We just need to vanish. Into what? Open space? A black hole? No, she replied. There's a storm field ahead. Asteroids, lightning waves, radiation pockets. No sane ship goes in. Rain grinned. Lucky for us, I'm not sane. Valea smiled weakly. Then hold on. She tilted, the ship hard to the right, diving toward the dark patch of sky. Behind them, red dots appeared on the radar. Enemy ships, fast, angry, and armed. The hunters were back, and this time they had backup. They've locked weapons, Ronnie said, watching the screen flash red. Valea's hands danced over the controls. Entering storm field in 30 seconds. The ship's hull groaned as they passed through the first wave of debris. A small asteroid scraped the side, sending sparks flying. Then the storm hit. Electric energy snapped across the shields. Lights flickered. Gravity shifted. The ship spun slightly, but Valea corrected it fast. Ronnie held onto the railing, the heat from his earlier burn still throbbing. Behind them, 2 alien crafts followed. The third tried to enter the storm field but clipped an asteroid and exploded. 1 down. The remaining 2 fired plasma shots, 1 hit. The rear engines flared and caught fire. We're leaking, Ronnie shouted. Valea didn't flinch. How much time do I have? 3 minutes, maybe less. She narrowed her eyes. Then, we end this now. She guided the ship deeper into the storm. The radar went blank. Visibility dropped to 0. She flew by, feeling alone. 1 alien ship got too close, tried to match her flight path. A flash of white light shot across the screen. Lightning from the storm arced between the rocks and hit the hunter ship directly. It burst into fire, spiraled, and vanished. Ronnie whooped. 2 down. 1 more, she said, voice tight. But the last one was smarter. It stayed back, sending small drones forward to track them. The drones buzzed around their ship like insects, scanning, tagging, marking. Valea had a plan. Hold the ship steady, she said. Don't ask questions. Ronnie looked nervous. What are you doing? But she was already gone into the lower deck. She returned 30 seconds later with a glowing core in her hands. The gravity stabilizer? It's unstable, she said. It'll explode when overcharged, but it can also blind their system just long enough. You want to throw it at them? No, she replied. I'll jump from the cargo bay and place it on their drone manually. Ronnie grabbed her wrist. No way. You'll die. She looked at him calm. Then fix the ship while I buy us time. He stared at her and saw no fear, only peace. I'll do it, he whispered. No, she said, softer. You already gave me freedom. Let me give you a future. And before he could stop her, she was gone. The cargo bay doors opened. Valea leapt into open space. The storm raged around her, wind and metal and burning light. But she moved like a comet, fast, determined. She reached the drone, grabbed its side, and slapped the core into its central eye. The drone screamed, sparks flying. And then, boom. A flash, a wave of light, and silence. Back in the ship, rain shielded his eyes. The radar cleared. The final hunter ship spun off course, blinded, then struck an asteroid and shattered into pieces, all enemies. Gone, but Valea's signal was gone too. He rushed to the scanner, shaking. No, come on. A soft blink, a single dot. Moving. She was alive. He opened the side hatch and saw her, floating slowly, spinning, unconscious, drifting like a leaf. He pulled her inside, holding her close, her body cold and limp. Don't you dare die, said, eyes burning. Don't you dare. She coughed once, then smiled. I told you. I'd buy us time. He held her tighter than ever before. You bought us forever, he whispered. The stars outside were calm again. No alarms, no enemies, only silence. Inside the ship, the lights were dimmed. The engines hummed gently now, finally stable. The ship was far from perfect, but it was flying, and they were alive. Valea sat on the floor near the ship's front viewport, legs folded under her, Ronnie's oversized jacket wrapped around her shoulders like a blanket. Her hair was still messy, her skin still bruised, but there was peace on her face. She looked out the window, watching the stars slide past like slow raindrops. Ronnie limped into the room holding 2 mugs of something hot. It wasn't good. Just instant ration tea, but it was warm, and right now that was enough. Still cold? He asked, handing her the mug. She nodded and took it carefully. My body's warm. My heart is still learning. He sat beside her, his side bandaged from the burn, one eye still slightly swollen. That's deep. Very poetic. I've been listening to your old music files, she said with a small smile. Humans are dramatic, he laughed. We are, but we feel big things, that's why. She turned to look at him. You feel big things too. I try not to, he said, looking away. But you made that impossible. There was silence between them, soft, not heavy, comfortable. She sipped her drink, then looked at his jacket wrapped around her again. It smells like you, she said, like sweat and engine grease. Thanks, he said dryly. It smells like safety. That made him stop. He looked at her, really looked. She wasn't just a survivor anymore. She wasn't broken. She wasn't scared. She was someone becoming whole again, and somehow that made him feel whole too. Where do we go now? She asked softly. Ronnie thought for a moment. There's a human colony a few sectors out. Peaceful place. No slavers, no bounty hunters. You could live freely there. Start over. She tilted her head. And you? I'd head back to the station, do repairs, keep moving. Valea looked down at the floor. Then she said quietly, I don't want to start over. Without you. He turned to her. I know I'm not like you, she said. I come from pain, from cages, from a life where my voice didn't matter. She took his hand. But with you, I found breath, I found fire, I found me. Rainey swallowed hard. She touched his chest lightly. You gave me freedom, Ronnie. But more than that, you gave me a home. Then she looked up, eyes shining. So, now I ask, will you stay? Not as a hero, not as a savior, but just as mine? Ronnie stared at her for a long moment, and then with no words, he leaned forward and placed his forehead gently against hers. I was yours the moment you called me kind, he whispered. Later, they flew together, 2 souls that once had nothing, now building everything. She learned his tools. He learned her language. They renamed the ship Second Chance, and every time she wore his jacket, curled up near the ship's warm core, she would whisper to herself, I found home, not in a place, but in a person